Hey, what's going on, guys? Brian from Zombie Guitar here. This is part 9 of the chord tone soloing series. Alright, so in this part we're going to be looking at non-diatonic chords within the underlying progression. Okay, so this is really where this chord tone soloing stuff starts to become apparent, when you have non-diatonic chords thrown into the mix. Okay, if all your chords are diatonic to the key that you're playing in, then you can get away with, just playing the scale. Okay, it's not always going to be ideal, but just playing the scale over the entire progression, kind of disregarding the chord tones, it'll sound okay. Okay, however, when a non-diatonic chord gets thrown into the mix, the scale more often than not is going to clash with that one particular chord, because that one chord contains notes that aren't in the key scale of the key that you're playing in. Okay, so throughout the series so far, we've been working in the key of G major. Alright, and if you recall, the chords that are in G major, the diatonic chords, are the 1 chord is G, that's a major chord, the 2 chord is A minor, the 3 chord is B minor, the 4 chord is C, the 5 chord is D, the 6 chord is E minor. Okay, so you have 3 major chords, 3 minor chords. Those are all diatonic to this particular key. The 7th chord doesn't get used. It's a half diminished chord. Don't worry about it. So just looking at those 6 chords. So for the purpose of this demonstration, I'm going to take the 3 chord, which is the B minor, and I'm going to make it major. Okay, so now we have a B major coming into the mix. And if I try and stick just to the G major scale, it'll work most of the time, but once that B major comes into play, some of the notes will work, but if you happen to hit a wrong note, it'll clash significantly. But even better than looking at clash avoidance, it's better to look at really highlighting the chord, because that's what you want to do when you're playing. You really want to emphasize the underlying chord progression. Okay, so for the purposes of this example, we're going to stick with the same progression that we've been using for parts 1 and 2 of the series, and the last part, which goes like this. Okay, and once it gets to there the second time around, then I'm going to throw in that B major chord. And then the progression will start back over. Okay, so we're going to be playing up here in this position, this home box area. Okay, so looking at the location of all your available chord tones. Okay, you have your C in the C shape here. Okay, then you have your G in the G shape. Okay, these are hard chords to play, so I'm just showing you the shapes. So and then you have the D chord in the D shape in this position. Okay, and then you have the E minor in the E minor shape. Okay. And then when this B chord comes into play, this is a B major chord now. Okay, so here's your B major chord. It's found in the C shape right here. But note that this note right here, that's the 3rd of the B. Okay, that's the particular note that's not in the key of G major. Okay, that's why I'm highlighting it in orange with an X on there. Okay, so that's part of this B major chord, but that is not part of the key of G major. So that particular note right there, as well as all the other notes of the B major chord, are going to be what distinguishes your solo and really allows you to bring this chord out as you're doing your improvs or whatever, your written solos or whatever. So let's hear how this sounds played over this progression. I have this stored in my looper, and this is going to sound like this. Okay, so for the rest of the chords, I was primarily landing on chord tones, but there was a couple times I landed on other melodic tones that weren't necessarily chord tones, but they were still in the key of G major. Okay, we went over that in the previous part of the series, part 8. But you saw that once the that B major chord was occurring, I was making sure to hit those chord tones, and it was really, really becoming apparent. Okay, because that particular chord just didn't. It wasn't part of the key, so it really stuck out, So that's really where this chord tone stuff comes into play. Okay, so you know how to find your chord shapes, you know how to find all your caged shapes in any position of the guitar. So anytime you become aware of a chord, not being in the key, being a non-diatonic chord, whatever position you happen to be in, just locate that particular shape of wherever you're at for that particular chord, and really focus on hitting those notes as that chord occurs. If you don't do anything else, if you just stick to scales the whole rest of the time for all the other diatonic chords, if you don't do anything else and you just want to switch to chord tone soloing, this would be the time to do it, okay? Non-diatonic chords, it's where to do it at, okay? So that's going to be it for this lesson, quick lesson. Any questions, comments, hit me up. Thanks a lot.